video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this lovely Coast Ripple blanket by Attic24. I'm going to show you how to start your swatch, make your first row and make the repeat. And then you can finish this wonderful blanket all by yourself. Have fun and don't forget to subscribe to get all updates on all new videos.
I'm going to teach you how to make the ripple blanket. We're going to do it in a smaller size, so you actually do see all the steps. You can practice with all the stitches without having to frog these long and endless rows of chains when you've made a mistake. Please make a swatch. You can use this video later on if you need it as a guide for your actual blanket, but please first make a swatch. This pattern was designed by Lucy from Attic24, and she's given me her permission to make video tutorials of all her lovely blankets. So please subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any of the next videos. Get your yarn and hook and crochet along with me with this swatch of the ripple blanket. I'm using colors from the Coast Ripple blanket package, but you can also follow this tutorial along for any of the other ripple patterns, any other ripple color combinations that have been published. I'll show you first how to make your starting chain, how to make a first row, how to make a second row, and also how to pay attention that your hills and valleys will end up nicely aligned. Then I'm going to talk about changing color. Then we're going to make the third and the fourth row, which are just a repeat of the second row, so don't worry too much about it, but I'll guide you through it a few times. Each time we'll go a little bit faster so you can see how the process evolves. Then I'll show you how to fasten off, how to darn in the ends. And then we're done to enjoy this little swatch and to start on the bigger blanket. If you have any questions, please let them know below. And please double check if you have the right-handed video or the left-handed video, because they both are online. You can find the link to the left-handed in the description of the right-handed and vice versa. So if you're left-handed, please follow the left-handed version of this tutorial. For now, I wish you lots of relaxing crocheting time. This video is tailored to beginners. There's also a written version of this tutorial that's linked in the description. And I wish you lovely, relaxing crochet time. To start off almost any crochet pattern, you need to make a slip knot. Put the short end over the long end, put the long end through the loop, and pull. Then you should have a little knot that can slide over the yarn and that you can tighten on the hook. This usually isn't mentioned, but it's the way to get started. After you've made your slip knot, we're going to make 31 chain for your swatch. 31 chain. For a chain, you yarn over, so from the back to the front, and you pull the yarn through the loop on the hook. That's one chain. And that's two. If you are a beginner, this looks easy, but when you start working on it, it might be a bit difficult. That has to do with something called tension. The tension is the game or the play there is between how high you pull your hook to make a very big loop, or how much you pull on the yarn to make a very tiny loop. And you want to have a good balance between the two to have good tension. This is something that takes practice, just like writing. Your first letters probably didn't all look similar in size or in slant, and the same goes for your chains when you start learning to crochet. So if this is your very first time crocheting, please just practice this for long ends until your chains look about the same size. Something to be mindful of is that you don't pull on the yarn after you've made the chain, because that makes the loop very small and then your hook won't fit into it on the way back. So the hook size, this bit, determines how big your chain is. And if you pull on it after you finish the stitch, you make your next row very difficult. Do this until you have 31 chain. Of course, I haven't counted because I was talking to you, but you can count them afterwards as well. You look at the little knot. You can see that here. There's a little knot. And then you have V shapes that sort of fall into each other. This is a V shape, this is a V shape, this is a V shape. Every V shape is one chain. So if I would count this, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. The loop on the hook doesn't count. So 24, this is my last chain. So I can carry on and I'll make 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, and 31. Now you've done the first bit of your swatch, 31 chain. Now we're going to make a US double or a UK treble crochet. For the ease of not saying the same word all over again, I'll stick to double crochet for this pattern. And what I mean by that, I'll show you. But first we need to find the fourth chain from the hook. Loop on the hook never counts. Above my nail is 1 V, 2 V's, 3, and 4. I'll keep my finger here so that no matter which way I'm going to turn, I'm still sure that this is the chain that my hook needs to go into. Now I'm going to yarn over, put my hook into that chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now there's 3 loops on my hook. And then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet done if you're from the US, or treble crochet if you're from the UK. Then we're going to yarn over again and go into the next chain. And this has some people baffled. And then they go into the same one again. So this is the chain that your previous double crochet came from. And then you have to move 1 V shape over to here. So I keep moving this thumb along so that I'm sure that I don't skip a chain, and also sure not to make 2 in 1 chain unless that's what we're going to do. We're not going to do that yet, but soon. So there's going to be a double crochet into the next chain. Put your needle hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 3 loops on the hook. Then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And again, yarn over, find the next chain. So this chain already has a stitch. You can see it's a bit bigger as well. So we move our thumb a little bit over to the left if you're right-handed or right if you're left-handed. And then you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And again, yarn over into the next chain. So this one already has one. So we move 1. And then we insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over, go through 2. And once more, yarn over into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. This is what your work then looks like. You've got the skipped chains here. They are a bit curvy. And then you've got your double crochets, 5 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet. So these vertical lines are your double crochet, and these are the skipped chains. Now we're going to decrease, and I'll show you how that works. You're going to yarn over, go into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. and then yarn over and go through 2 loops. So that's how we started all of these double crochets. But now we're not going to finish it. We're going to make the next one and then we'll finish them together. So we're going to yarn over, go into this next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now there's 4 loops on the hook. Then you'll yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. And now you've got 3 loops on the hook and we're going to finish them together. And this is why I said we're going to decrease, because up here you have 1 stitch now and in the bottom you had 2. And this is going to force the little valleys in our work. But one of these stitches wouldn't make a nice little valley, so we're going to give it a friend. We're going to repeat this same sequence over the next 2 chains. So yarn over, go into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, but then we're not going to finish this one, we're going to give it a friend. So we're yarning over into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, then we're going to yarn over and pull to 2. So now we've got 2 separate half finished double crochets, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And this has made our little valley. It's not really clear yet. You can pull it anyway and then it will behave differently, but this is where the little dip is going to be in your work. Now the next step is to make 4 of these double crochets that you've practiced here. We're going to make them again. Yarn over into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. We want to make 4. So the next one is not going to go into this chain because it's already occupied. It's going to go in that chain. That's the second one. And that's the third. And this is going to be the 4th. So here's our little valley. You can see these have a bit of a different shape. They're like an upside down V or an N. And you can see 2 stitches at the bottom and 1 at the top. And then when you recognize this shape, you can also count if you've made the 4 required double crochets next to it. Now we're going to make a bit of a hill, as you will. So we've made our little valley here, or the dip, and now we're going to make a hill. Here we decreased, and here we're going to increase. And increasing is a little bit easier than decreasing, if you ask me. So we're going to make 2 double crochet into this next chain. So this one's occupied. This one will get 2. So the process is the same. You insert your hook, you yarn over, you pull through 2 and pull through 2. But then you yarn over and you do go into the last occupied one, the one that already has a double crochet. You're going to make 1 more in there. And now you can see 1 stitch is occupied here, but 2 stitches come out of it. So it's a bit of the opposite of this, where you have 2 at the bottom and 1 at the top. This will make sure that we have the same stitch count, but we do have that wonderful ripple effect. So now for the next chain, it will also get 2. It needs a friend. Just like in the valley, on the hilltop, we also do the same process twice. So that's your regular double crochet, but it gets a friend into the same stitch. I'm talking a lot about friends here. So this is what it looks like then. You had your beginning chain, your 5 double crochet on a row, you had your decreases here, then you had 4 double crochet, and then the 2 increases here. So 2 in one stitch and 2 in the next stitch. Now we still have a bit of chain left for the next step. Now we're going to do nothing new. We're going to make 4 more double crochet. So this is the first one. And then this is the next one. And then that is the next one. And then a final one. So that's 4 in a row of the double crochets. You can see this was the increase. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to decrease again. So we're going to yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Then it needs a friend, so you yarn over, go into the next one, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2. And then these friends want to be together, so you yarn over and you pull through all 3 loops. The same goes for the next 2 stitches, the same process. So yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then they're friends, so you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Now you can make 4 more double crochet into the next 4 chain. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the very last chain, or actually the very first you made, gets 2 double crochet. So in this very last chain, you're going to make half a hill, as it were. For row 2, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. That's lovely, isn't it? We're going to start with only 3 chains, so no 31 this time. For a chain, you yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. And you repeat that process 3 times. Then you turn your work around. Now we're going to make a double crochet into the same stitch. So here you did 2 in the same stitch, and you want to mirror that on top of it. And to make another stitch into this same stitch, you yarn over and you insert your hook into this area in such a manner that on top of your hook is that little V. So under both loops of that V, you can see the V's here. You want your hook to go under both loops of the V always. Then you yarn over and pull up a loop. That makes 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now you've started with an increase on the edge, just like you ended. Now we're going to make 4 double crochets by yarning over, going into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Again, yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. If you've lost count of how many you've done, you can see that these are both in the same stitch, so you've done 1 and 2. We want 4, 3, and 4. Now we're going to make a valley again, and you can see, although it might be a little difficult when you're a beginner, that these sort of line up, these double crochet, and this one as well. But here you see that more's going on. These 2 are joined together, and these 2 are joined together as well, and then you get a bunch of these singletons again. And what you want to make sure of is that your decreases are always centered over the decreases of the previous row. And to make these decreases, you yarn over, go into the next available stitch. So that's a singleton, as it were. That's just this double crochet of the previous round. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then your next unfinished one is going to be in this decrease of the previous row. And then you can yarn over, pull through 2, and make the friends join up together. Just as before, you're not going to make 1 decrease, you're going to make 2. And for the second one, the first leg of the 2 double crochet together will be in the decrease of the row before, and the next one will be in a double crochet. So we're going to do this again. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over again into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over, go through 3. Why am I hammering about this a little bit is because if something's going wrong, it usually is that people shift a stitch a bit. So they forget the 4th here, or they do this one in the next already instead of in the same one. And that means that the decreases are slightly off to one side or the other. And that means your ripple effect won't be as clear, and that will be a shame. So that's why I'm talking about this, so you can check yourself whether the second leg of the first decrease is in the decrease and whether the first leg of the second decrease is in the decrease, which means that these decreases are nicely centered above the decreases in the previous row. Now we're going to make 4 double crochet. So yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 and through 2, and again for the second double crochet, and again for the third, and again for the 4th. And now you can see the increases here. So the 4th double crochet of this little 4 double crochet line is in the first leg of this increase. And now that means that you're going to center your increases again over the center of these 2 increases here. So you're going to make 2 double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. Just as we did in the previous row, that's an increase if you make 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And you don't do that once, it wants a friend, so you do it twice. All right, now we're going to make 4 double crochet again in this little line. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please pause the video if this is too fast for you. And now you can see that we're going to center these decreases again. So the first decrease is here and the second decrease is there. So we're still right on track to finish this beautiful row. Going to yarn over into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Don't finish it yet. First going to make a friend, yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then go through 2. And then finish the stitch by going through all 3 loops. That's a 2 double crochet together. Then we're going to make one of those again, because you don't want them to be lonely. So you can think of these as sort of unfinished double crochets that you finish off together. So then you have these 2 decreases again. Now we're going to make 4 double crochet, and this is another one of these places where people sometimes get confused or stop crocheting or accidentally decrease, because this doesn't really look like a stitch. Well, we talked about this before. This is the sort of, when I said it's the curvy end, this is the skipped chains from the previous row. And you will have the same situation again at the end of the next row, because these are the chains you made when you started this row. There's a little trick you can do to help you see it a tiny bit better. So go back to the beginning of your row now, and then you see that this is a clear double crochet. And when you turn it a little bit, you can see the V that belongs to this double crochet. And then you insert a stitch marker or a paper clip or a contrasting bit of yarn through the next V, or what would be the next V. You can put the stitch marker in there, and that means that if you get back here in the next row, you will know that this is the last stitch that your stitches need to go in. Well, we didn't do that here because I didn't want to overcomplicate your first steps, but if we turn it around a little bit, we can see a V shape here. So this is the top, the third chain that we skipped. So this is where you want your hook to go into. It's a bit more difficult to see from this end. But we're going to make 2 double crochet into that last stitch. And usually when you pull it in, only one loop will play nicely. It's not super important, but you can find the loop that belongs to it, the other side of the V, if you will, and also put it on your loop. This project will have a border, so don't fuss too much if it's not working for you as it should. Then you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop and just make your double crochet. And then the second double crochet goes into the same stitch, and that's usually a lot easier because you've already made the little hole a bit more visible. This is what it should look like now. You should get more and more defined dips and valleys, or mountains and valleys, as you were. So that's what it is. I think it looks nice like this, and I'll show you the next round. You can leave the yarn attached if this is your swatch. You can put a little stitch marker or something in it, so you don't have to waste yarn and throw it away. That's how that would work. But if this is your actual blanket, you want to fasten off. My way of fastening off is after I finished my last stitch, I chain 1, then I cut the yarn. This was the smallest scissor I could find. And then I pull it all the way through and pull it tight. This little thing is not a stitch that you're going to do anything with. It just makes sure that your yarn ends don't come loose at all at any point. Now we're ready for row 3. This is the situation we ended in. You had the beginning yarn. You put your stitch marker or paper clip or whatever in the third chain of this beginning, so you can recognize this when you get back there, and you fastened off or put a stitch marker here. We are going to flip our work and grab our new color. I'll grab a nice other blue color out of the coastal palette. And then we're going to make row 3 and 4, which is basically the same as we've already done. So nothing new here, except maybe from getting the yarn attached. So we're going to again make a slip knot on the hook, small end over the long end, pull the long end through, insert your hook. Now I want to show you 2 different ways of starting your row. One way would be the way that is described in Lucy's pattern, and that would be to make a slip stitch into this final stitch of your row, and then chain 3. That's one way. And then you have that third chain that you have to fiddle in a little bit, what we showed in the at the end of the previous row. There's another thing you can do, and that's called a standing stitch. And I really prefer standing stitches, so I'm going to just shortly show you. Both ways are correct. For a standing stitch, you also start with a slip knot, then you hold on to both yarns. You have to figure out a way that is comfortable for you to do. It's only shortly, but you have to hold on to both yarns because you're going to yarn over. And if I would leave that bit, then I yarn over and just pull it round and round. So you want to stop that from happening by holding it for a little bit. So you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to insert your hook into that very last stitch. So this one, not into the little darning off if you did it, but into the very last stitch under both loops, just as before. You're still holding on to both these yarns. Then you're gonna yarn over, pull on a loop, and then you're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's called a standing double crochet or a standing treble crochet, depending on where you come from. And it just looks a lot more like a stitch than the chain 3, if you ask me. And it becomes a lot easier to recognize the last stitch of this row when you get back to it, because it will have this clear V with a little knot. So it's a lot easier to recognize where you have to stop your row. I prefer this, but the chain 3 method also works, of course. Now we're going to make a double crochet into the same stitch, and then I'm hoping by now you can kind of get to recognize what we're going to do. We're going to make 4 double crochet, or 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches if you want to be a little bit more precise. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to look at what we've been doing here before. And we see that there's a decrease here and here. So we're going to do that again. We're going to make a little valley on top of the valley that's already there. So yarn over, insert a hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops, and stop. Yarn over, go into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, and stop. And then yarn over and go through all 3 loops on the hook, and you've made a decrease. Do that again. So yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and again yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, and then they're close friends, so you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now we're going to make a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to make 2 increases. So 2 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So you put them in the same stitch. So all the other ones get 1 stitch each to their own, and they have to share. And in the next stitch, they also have to share because they don't want to be alone. Now we're going to walk downhill again and make 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's 2 and 3 and 4. Let me double check. I can see that this is an increase and this is as well. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochet. Okay, does it still look nice? Yes, there's a valley here, there's a hill there. Great. On to the last bit of this. We're going to yarn over and we're going to make a decrease because I see my little valley here. So we're going to do 2 double crochet together over the first 2 stitches, and then again 2 double crochet together over the next 2 stitches. Now we're going to make 1 double crochet into each of the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you find the magic of the little stitch marker, because now I know, this is the last stitch that my 2 double crochet, that my increase should go in. So I find this V and I try to wiggle my hook underneath both, which usually doesn't work at the first go, but it works now. And we're going to make 2 double crochet into this stitch. This is your row 3 complete, and that's one of the 2 rows that you're going to repeat again and again and again and again. For row 4, we're actually doing nothing new. We're going to start with chain 3, turn the work, and make a double crochet into the same stitch. And now that you have your little stitch marker or paper clip or whatever handy, you can use it to mark your 3rd chain. So this is the loop on the hook. This is the V that belongs to the double crochet you just made. So you'll have to find the next V. And that's the 3rd chain you made. That gets a stitch marker for easier turning at the end of the next row. Then we're going to make 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to decrease, so yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, go through 2, and also for the next, and then make them friends, and repeat that whole process once more to make your 2nd decrease. Then you're going to make a double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And then you're going to make 2 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. You can double check if you're still on track by seeing if these increases are nicely aligned on top of the middle increases of the last row. So you have an increase and an increase. This increase is nicely on the middle one, and this increase is nicely on the middle one. Then we're going to make 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to make a decrease. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop until you have 2 loops on the hook, but then stop. Don't finish your double crochet by accident. It needs to have a friend. And then we try again, yarn over into the next stitch. We make unfinished double crochets, and then we finish them off together. And then you really can nicely start to see the ebb and flow of this lovely ripple blanket. Then we're going to make 4 more double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you can see the beauty of a standing stitch. It's very clear to see that this is another stitch I need to go in, so that gets 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And that's your row repeat. You do this for each and every color just like you've done there. I'm going to show you how to fasten off your ends, and I'm going to talk a little bit about swatches, and then you're good to go make your actual blanket. I'm going to chain 1 here and cut the yarn so I can show you how to darn in your ends. When you're done with your swatch, you want to check if you like the look and feel of your swatch. And what I mean by that is that you've probably used the hook size that was described, but some people have very tight tension and some people have very loose tension. So if your swatch is laying down like this, but you see giant holes in the project, then you might want to try again with a smaller hook size. And if your project looks like this, but it's very, very stiff, you cannot really fold it, then your tension is probably tight and you might want to move up a hook size. This is why we also make a tension swatch, so you can see if your material and your hook size match what you want to achieve. So you can imagine if you want to make a pillow casing with this pattern, you want it to be tight and without holes. But if you wanted to make a blanket, then it's nice if it's nice and flexible. So with your project in mind, decide if this is the look and feel that you want, or whether you want to change up your hook size. Then, of course, you may want to make your ends look a little bit less messy than this. So we're going to darn in those ends. You need a needle like this, preferably with an eye that is large enough to quite easily fit your yarn in. And then there's no rules to this, but what usually is done is that you use this needle and wiggle it underneath a few of these stitches in one direction. So to the center of the blanket from the edge. And then you pull it all the way through. And then you sort of make a U-turn, but you make sure not to do the exact same route, because then you would pull the yarn out again. So go under one loop, for example, of the same color, and then start your return journey toward the edge of the swatch. Until it pokes out at the side again. And then you can use your scissor to just cut it. Please remember to do this, not to leave it till the very, very, very end of your blanket, because it will be a lot of little ends. And I don't want to know how many blankets there are around the world that just have to have this process done, but people just leave them in a plastic bag somewhere because they're disheartened by the amount of ends that they have to weave. So please just do this every evening when you're done crocheting, or after every row, or after every 10 rows, or however you prefer to do it. But leaving them till the end is usually not the answer. For some people it might be, but for most people it's not. All right. The next step when your swatch is done would be to start your actual blanket. You need to start with the chains again. Remember, you started here with 31. You need to start with a multiple of 14 chains. And when you've done the multiple of 14 chains, then you add another 3 chains to turn. So the total stitch count could be 5 times 40 is 70 chain, plus 3 is 73 chain is what you would start with. So do this for yourself. You can use your swatch if you want to. You can measure this, and then you know, okay, this is how many chains I would want, because this is only so wide, and I want 5 of these next to each other, so I don't need 31 chain, but I need more. Be careful not to just multiply the 31 chain, but really multiply the 14 chain it needs to make one of these hills and valleys. So a multiple of 14 chains plus 3. Then you start with row 1 again, and that's the one that's the most fiddly. You need to go into these chain, and you don't have a guidance yet of where the decreases and increases go. So please take your time to make your chain, count them carefully, and then make your first row. It's really important. I can't stress this enough. Take your time for your first row. Then in your second row, please double check if your decreases actually match up the decreases of it below, and the increase is the same. And then when you change color and you get to the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth row, it should become smooth sailing. I wish you lots of fun with this ripple blanket from Attic24. Please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, because the border of this blanket will also be online soon, or maybe is already online when you're watching this. So the border of this pattern. I'll add a link in the description once I've done it, but please subscribe to the channel because I will be doing all Attic24 patterns in the future. So maybe when you're watching this far ahead in the future, let me know in the comments, and otherwise you'll see me or you'll hear me in the next video.